What's up? How's it going? It's your boy Patey Pips, and we're about to get this thing started. Alright. So I got the blue light, black light, whatever on. I got the glasses on today, and we're about to check out this market. So without further ado, starting on the dollar. Now last week the dollar went ham. Had a great bullish push last week, so let's look at that. So obviously, like I've been saying pretty much for the past, I don't know, month or two, this demand zone right here finally held, and we had a very nice push to the upside. A big bullish candle, so you know, I'm not really looking for any type of long-term sells on the dollar. If anything, I'm looking for it to retrace a little bit and then try to make another push out of this demand area. So I do see that it kind of, you know, came into like maybe a trend line or maybe another zone right here. I do see that. But overall, with the Feds raising the interest or saying they're going to raise the interest rates, I do think that's going to put some more bullish pressure on the dollar, right? See the momentum on the MACD is starting to come up as well. And so that's kind of the first signal of a bullish move. The second signal will be if this white line, which is the slow line, if that comes above the halfway point, the 0 point, that'll be my second confirmation that the momentum is really starting to take off to the upside. And so today we're going to go weekly, daily, 4 hour, and then probably down to the 1 hour as well, because that's just I always go to that's my favorite time frame, really. So let's go to the daily. So you can see that big, nice run up. It did break this 200 EMA. Yesterday gave a little bit of a, kind of a bearish candle, maybe not really engulfing, but pretty much equaling the Friday's candle. And we can kind of check that out. Let me put this, turn this on for us so we can kind of see where my mouse is so I can do the cool little stuff like that. So we did have kind of a bearish day, but it was expected. We need a pullback with this dollar, right? For it to go up another leg. And Abdul did mention, from here to here, it did come into a nice fib area. So it could, it could extend down to the downside, but I'm looking at this move right here as a lot more impulsive than this right here. Obviously, you can just see the big candles popping up. So I'm looking for that momentum to really start to take off. And you can see right here in the MACD how this push up was just way more momentum than we've seen in a while. Also, the slow lines above zero. So that's just good confirmations for this to continue to the upside eventually, right? And so there's two ways that you could really fib this move. You could fib it from this very low to this very high, or you could fib it from where the impulse really started. I mean, obviously it started here and then it had a small correction and then it moved up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark off this 61.8 and then I'm going to move this to this area right here, the bottom of this little wick, and I'm going to mark off this 61.8. So that's kind of a zone that you can kind of look at for the dollar to come back into. I think it should come back into that. And then another area, just straight structure is right here, right? We had some nice structure right there, kind of faked out. Then we came and respected it twice. So, so I don't have so many lines on my chart. I would really like it to come back into this area. But if it does start to show some rejection, maybe at the 50 or maybe at this 200 EMA, then that's when I'm going to be looking for the next wave to the upside for the dollar. And simply just be targeting these next highs right here. Okay, so that's what I'm kind of looking for on the dollar. I want to push down and then a move to the upside, just like that. Okay, and then if I just go onto the 1 hour just to see what we're doing right now, it's a little risky, but since I do want such a big correction, I'm not against something like this to play out. Did kind of have this nice little move right here with the divergence off of this big push up. The price was making higher highs, divergence was making those lower highs. So I'm not against maybe a retracement move like this. So if I do see some setups with the dollar trying to or some of the dollar pairs to take them to the downside, that's going to be what I'm basing it off of, right? Coming back into this area of imbalance down here. So let's look at EU, see what it did on the weekly first. And respected that supply zone inversely from the DXY. So let's mark this off, supply. And every week I just pretty much redo my charts. So if you come on here all the time, you're going to see me pretty much draw on these same higher time frame zones. But the lower time frames is where it gets a little bit different, right? So, and let me just make this full screen like that. Came into this little trend, right? But this big time momentum right here, I'm looking for this to fall a little bit lower, at least into this area way down here. I'll just mark it off like this. This is really where I want to see the euro end up getting to, and if it's not gonna make lower lows. Of course, not sure where if that's gonna happen yet, but I just want it to come all the way down into this area, respectfully. And then I know Abdul had a swing trade from this swing high to this swing low. He fibbed that out, and he's currently in some good profits off this swing trade. I'm not much of a swing trader. I'm kind of like the intraday swings more than anything. But you can see the target is pretty much lining right up with this big 61.8 fib. So it's all kind of lining up for this to end up falling down into this area. You can see the volume profile kind of gets a lot bigger down in here. It is big where it's at right now. So there could be some, little reaction right here based off of this last little impulse, right? We came into the 61.78 area of this. So we might see another move to the upside. That's possible. Let's go to the daily. And the move to the upside that I would be looking for would be more short-lived than anything, because you can see, again, high volume stepped in right here. High bearish volume stepped in as price was dropping. So that's a confirmation that we should see a continuation to the downside. And what I'm looking at now on the volume profile is, you see we got high volume here, no volume right here. So if price does break this low, it's most likely going to search for the next area of volume fast, which is going to be, down in this little area. So if we do start to see the euro really fall and break these lows eventually, that's going to be the next area, long term, right? So what I do on these Monday analysis is I really try to find my probabilities and, my odds for the week. You can see this is a little area of equal lows that price could want to get into as well. So what I'm seeing really, big momentum to the downside. We haven't had this type of momentum since March. So it did break some structure on the momentum. We got the slow line coming down. I like to see that for continuation to the downside. And, on the 4-hour, you can really see that momentum popping. Overall, though, if I'm going to get into any type of sells on this, I'm going to need to see a retracement, right? So if I bring the fib from here, I could do that. Or I could bring the fib from up here. I'm going to bring it from where this impulse down here, where this started. So that would be right here. And I could put it at this wick just to, go wick to wick. And I'm going to highlight the zone that I'm looking for sells in, right? So I'll make that a sell box. And let me see if this lines up with some volume profile. Okay, there's still some high volume up here. So this is basically showing you where a lot of the action was. And if you just follow this, you can just see there was clearly a lot of buyers and sellers right in there. When you see a range, you're always going to have, high volume in the range. Here's another area of high volume and then another area of pretty good volume. So what I'm seeing right here with the volume profile, okay, and we bring in some more price into it so I can get a better look, right? This is looking pretty good. So if we don't just respect here and start the fall, we should be coming up into this area of darker shaded volume. That's where the more interest is at. So I am looking for that move to the upside. There's a lot of volume right above here, actually. So if it doesn't respect here, that's the next area it's going to go. And like I said, you could take the fib like this, and that would kind of line up with the 78.6. But I'm going to take it just from here and look for this type of move. If it retraces that high, this might be a total fake out. And in how fast it retraces as well, that's going to be important. So if it gets there like tomorrow, that might be a little too fast, right? That would kind of look like a rejection more than a correction. So this is obviously an impulsive move to the downside. We need to see price kind of slow its way down into this area. Okay, if it just kind of gets there really fast, it's going to be a little bit more questionable. The odds of it playing out are going to be a little bit more against my analysis than anything. So I'm going to need to see a correction type move and then a fall, or just kind of like an A, B, C. If it kind of does that, that'll be okay. But essentially, I'm just looking to sell in this zone. And if I were to try to buy price, it'd be risky, right? Very risky, because it can easily just come, like you see the structure didn't completely break. So it could easily fall right here. I'll show some examples that what happened on like the cryptos. But that would be the move, if anything, if I try to play the correction. You can kind of see this little inverted head and shoulders that could play out, definitely. So it would be something from here to here to just try to catch a little move like that. And I wouldn't even try to take it all the way up into there, right? So I have the 38.2 on these days just because it's an area where I'm looking to take some profit. I'm going to take it off for the analysis because I don't use it to analyze. I just use it to kind of find an area of profits. So if I need to put it on, I'll put it on. So that's what I'm looking for on EU. I kind of would like that, and then I move to the downside. Need it to take its time though. Don't want it to get there too fast. Okay, AU is going to be very similar. It finally dropped out of the range it was in on the weekly. So it broke these lows here. It broke the lows that were up here. It did a really nice impulsive move to the downside. And you know, it should keep going, but it is coming into an interesting swing area as well, I believe. So still has a little ways to go, but you can see that 50 EMA coming in right here. Regardless, if the dollar continues to go up, this is going to continue to go down. 4 hour or daily, like I said, it broke this area pretty cleanly, and it even broke these lows real nice as well. So I'm all in favor of it to continue to the downside. You got high volume, high bearish volume on the drop, showing that it should continue. Got high volume here because of the range. Let's bring some more price in to see if there's any volume to the downside, right? Okay, so that's going to be the next area I'm looking for price to get to. It's pretty much lining up with these equal lows. So that is what I'm going to be looking for long term on AU. My higher probability is with the bears. Got the nice impulse to the downside. You see the high volume rising. Short term, I do see a correction. I do see that. Let me just put this back up there. Taking it from here to the downside, this lines up really nice. The structure that it broke lines up really nice with the fibs that I'm looking at. The volume, on the other hand, you know, it does look a little bit suspectful. It could come up a little bit higher to hit this, high volume right there to come back into the middle of the range, but I would be looking for it to respect this structure that it smashed through, really, at the 78.6. And you can see there is some high volume right here as well, so it might just stop right here at the 61.8 and then drop. But this also is one that kind of needs to take its time a little bit. I don't want them to get there too quickly, or else it's going to look like the market could just start to continue to the upside. And this was all a little fake out from the news and stuff. So same thing as the Euro USD. This looks like a possible opportunity right here. If it does come into the 61.8, 78.6, there's some volume down in here. So that might be a play for tomorrow. Buy box, sorry. That might be a play for tomorrow as well if you're feeling kind of risky to send it up into there. I might pick one of these, whichever has like the biggest impulse. I might play that, but honestly, it's not really going with my rules. I see a little bit of structure did break right here. It kind of did break some structure, and there is good volume from yesterday down in here. So it's not a bad play. It's just not really with my rules because it didn't necessarily impulse out of here. I like to see bigger impulses than this, right? So it's a play. I'll be watching for it. Ultimately, I'm looking to sell up in those areas. And when it gets into those areas, I probably won't have a limit order just because it's going to be such a big swing. Let me see what the stop. Yeah, I'm I don't really like 55 pips stop losses, but you know, the risk to reward on it would be really nice. So it might be a limit order with a small position and then try to add on to it as it goes. So ultimately, longer term looking for sells, shorter term could retrace up into that sell area. Now, this one kind of looks more impulsive. So if any of them, I might play GU. Let's look at the weekly first though, just to make sure everything's looking good. Definitely rejected off of this supply area. Got the nice big bearish candle with higher than average volume, a little bit higher than average volume than it has been. Let's see here. Let me go to the daily. You know, momentum right here on the weekly starting to roll over, and there's a lot of volume down in this area and not a lot up here. So this could start to roll over faster than I think, to be honest. Let me bring in some price so I can see where this volume's at. Okay, yeah, this area is the point of control, and there's not a lot of volume up in here. So let me see here. Daily has the nice move down, rising volume. They all look the same, right? We got these equal lows chilling right here. So this would kind of be the next area that I think it would get to. And right, yeah, so there's not a lot of volume at all in between, you know, let's say 1.407 and where price is right now. So if it does continue to move up, it's probably going to get into the middle of this range pretty quickly. And you can see how this pretty much broke really nicely. That'd be where I'd look for price to hold at. So where did this impulse start? And if y'all know what I'm talking about right here, I basically just look at the MACD for my momentum, and that's where the momentum started to the downside. So that's kind of where I play my fibs at. Just kind of easy way to find where to put your fibs. Of course, you could put it from here to here. It's not a bad idea either, to be honest, based off how the volume's looking, but I'm just going to play it off the MACD. And I'm going to move this down into this area, just so I can have a little bit bigger area to look at. Lately, I've been playing all my fibs off the 78.6, just because it gives that crazy good risk to reward, and you only need a couple a week to really hit some good money. So same thing, right? I'm waiting for price to get up into this area, and then long-term sell off. Short term, I would really like to see a nice zigzag ABC wave right here. So let's go down to the 1 hour, and yeah, this one has a nicer impulsive move to it than all the other ones. So I'm gonna try to keep my focus on GU if I'm looking to play any of these to the upside, right? It lines up really well. So this would just be a retracement move in my opinion, right? Long-term sells, short-term correction buys into this area. Okay, so I really kind of like how the volume of yesterday's volume, those are the red lines, the daily volume, highest volume of the day. So I would really like to see this actually come into this and then make a move up like that. And that would give a nice A, B, C wave right there. So let me just kind of draw that out so I can keep this on my chart. This would be the A wave. This would come down into this area, and this would be the C wave. Okay, I'd want it to be pretty much the same length as this A wave. So from here to here, off the 61.8 pretty much, that's what I'd want to see. So I'd kind of want this to happen, almost to the T. Price comes a little bit lower, that's okay. That would be more ideal, to be honest, for me. But that's what I'm pretty much looking at for GU. And then once we get up there, I'm going to want to sell off again. Something like that. All right, let's make that like that. Okay, short-term bullish, long-term bearish. UJ has been going crazy because the dollar got strong and the JPY got weak. And so when the JPY is weak, UJ goes up. And of course, when the dollar's strong, UJ goes up. So it kind of hasn't moved as much as, you know, everything else dollar related. So let me just mark this area off right here. This is just a higher time frame supply area that it hasn't necessarily got to. If you want to move it down a little bit, you know, you can kind of see it more on like the line chart, how it's respected a little bit, but I'm going to keep it up a little higher because I think it has a little bit of upside to go. On the daily, it's kind of chopping in this little, looks like flag to me. Get the impulse down and then it's just chopping a little bit. So, you know, there's nothing wrong with playing inside the correction. It's just kind of flaggish. You got some volume right here that's picking up. Let me look into this. You know, the candlesticks aren't really telling me a whole lot with this volume. It is rising, but price isn't necessarily doing much. Yesterday's candle's pointing to the upside, in my opinion. I think this has a little bit of room to the upside, like I said, but not getting a great read on it yet. Let me try to go to the 4 hour. Let me just delete these. And it is making, you know, these slight higher highs, higher lows, equal high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high. Almost changed structure, but then we made a higher high here, almost changed structure, and it looks like it's probably going to end up making a higher high, to be honest. Not seeing a great setup or anything on it, just a little choppy. On the 1 hour, so I know last week I was looking at something like this that would have got stopped out. It might have been a little stop hunt action right here, to be honest. So if price comes back into this, it might be a move up with the inverted head and shoulders. So what I'm going to do, I'm actually probably not going to play this just because it's not looking great. Not looking great at all, really, to me. But this candle would be considered like a manipulation candle, in my opinion. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to mark off the open of that candle. And I'm not even going to put an alert on it. I'll just come back and look at it tomorrow. And if price comes back into this open, really even halfway of it, I think that might be a little possible move to the upside, just because there was so much demand right here, and we came back into it and then moved up again. So I do think there's a possibility of UJ going up, but I'm not loving it. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on UJ just because it doesn't look too great. But if the yen continues to get weak and the dollar kind of just stalls, then this is going to move to the upside. But if the dollar starts to correct, and if the dollar starts to correct while while the yen is getting weak still, it's not gonna know where to go. Whichever one is weaker really is gonna win, right? So yen weak, UJ up. If the dollar's weak though, this is gonna try to pull its weight back down. So we'll see what happens. USHEF. It's kind of the inverse of the dollar right now, pretty much. So this was a really nice swing opportunity as well that we've been talking about for a couple weeks. From this wick to this high, it was chilling in this zone for the longest time. Then it finally made its way out. So ultimately, we're looking for it to swing up into this area of high volume. We're looking for price to come all the way up here on a kind of a swing, more position type look. So long term, very bullish on this. On the daily, it's even, pretty nice. I'm going to delete this fib. It's even looking bullish on the daily. You can see these three increasing volume candles with these three increasing bullish candles as well. So I'm going to take this from the bottom of this to the top right here and draw this area out. This would be the swing area for the next wave to the upside. So I'll just draw that right there. I know Abdul was looking at this possibly, coming into this area. If it does come into this area and show some rejection, that might be the area that it's really wanting to sell off from. I have a feeling that a lot of people are going to try to play the correction tomorrow based off of kind of this little down candle that we had. And I don't know, I'm feeling a little iffy on it, to be honest, because it's not really anything to play. It's a possibility, definitely, but I like to find a little bit higher probable moves than that. This is also just another area that this swing could come into, right? Kind of off of this bullish move. This is where the big momentum came in. So I'm just going to kind of play off this lower time frame momentums rather than the daily. Got a lot of volume down in here though, so it definitely could come back into this candle, no doubt. But just like the other AU, GU, and EU, I needed to get here slow. I don't want it to get here tomorrow, basically. That would be kind of sketchy. So I want it to take kind of a little bit, take its time to get into here. If it gets in here tomorrow, what I'm going to have to see, if it just slams in here, what I'm going to have to see is I'm going to have to see some type of divergence pattern in this zone to be more confident. I'm not just going to take it and go. It could do that. It definitely could do that. But I'm definitely going to wait. If it gets in here quick, I'm going to wait for some type of falling wedge. I'm going to wait for some type of inverted head and shoulders. I'm going to wait for something to tell me that, overall that it's going to move. I don't want to just try to catch it like a falling knife. Okay. But this doesn't look terrible. It doesn't look terrible for a move down tomorrow. It's just like all the other ones, a little bit of a risk based off of the higher time frame, how bullish it looks. So if you're feeling the correction, this one kind of looks okay as well. Come up into this yesterday's volume and then sell off. But you can see how this 50 EMA is respecting prices above the 50 EMA now, so it might just make these slight higher high and then do that move. If that happens on any of these pairs, right? If the dollar basically, let's go to the dollar again real quick. If the dollar does this and breaks these highs and then makes a quick move down, that's going to be the real correction. Like, that's when I'll really want to play the correction more than anything, because it'll have broken structure, it'll have stop hunted, it'll have done a little bit more for me to want to sell it, right? But I'm not going to lie, they are tempting. These plays right here are tempting. So they're just risky. So if anything, if I do play them, I'm going to put a little bit less risk on them. Let me just see what the risk to reward would be, or the stop. So it'd be like a 30 to 25 pip stop from the 61.8, bringing it down. Ultimately, you'd want it to come down to there, but just taking it down into this next area of volume, it's not a terrible play. Okay, well, EG, let's delete this, and let's talk about EG. So EG does not know what it wants to do. You can see a bunch of dojis and just wicks everywhere on this. It did come into, a nice little demand area. Almost came into it. Really, the demand is down in here. So let me just mark that off like that. Bring in this demand right there. Really, the demand is a little bit further down. but the very nice bullish week right here is kind of what I've been waiting for. This you can see it's almost like a flag on a weekly even, and then another move to the upside into this area. It's kind of what I've been expecting to happen. Let's go to the, but yeah, it hasn't really given any higher time frame signs of that yet. Now you can see this flag a lot better. Okay, eventually, you know, I'm looking for this thing to run up, but yesterday's candle is not really in favor of it yet. Okay, gave these double little wicks right here and fell. You can even see this little, you know, break and retest possibly that's going down. You know, the probability of it continuing to the upside is a little bit slim. We were looking at these right here, and it rejected off the 61.8 kind of nicely. So that's what I was looking at first. You know, I am in a trade on it. I think it's probably going to break even soon, so that's lame. But you can see how there's a possibility off the 61, 71% right here that it could continue to the upside. Off the 4 hour, you know, it's just choppy, real choppy, like hasn't broken any structure to the upside yet. In fact, it's just kind of making these slight lower highs. So, you know, once it gets into this, if it gets down into here, there's a lot of imbalance down here still. So if it can get down into that, which it almost has, I'll be looking for a bullish move. Again, like I said, I'm already in a trade right here, so I did expect this to kind of make another wave from here. So 1, 2, 3, I kind of wanted to see that. But the probability is just not in my favor, to be honest. This is the move that I was looking at. I know Abdul called this yesterday, so we're kind of both playing this right here. And I played it off the 78.6, so it looks like I am pretty much at break. I have my stop at break even. I don't really care to play moves before I go to sleep like that. So I moved my stop to break even kind of fast on these. I was risking about 12 pips. Price moved maybe like, I don't know, 6. And I just moved my stop to break even. I didn't want to go to sleep with a trade running that didn't really look great. So